Maurice Sam never thought his life would turn into something straight out of a soap opera. Yet here he was, caught in a web of affection spun by two women, Pearl Watts and Sonia Uche. His days felt like episodes of a drama series, and his nights were filled with questions he couldn't answer. How did he get here? How was he going to get out? And, more importantly, did he even want to? Pearl Watts was the kind of woman who made people stop and stare. She had a quiet elegance about her, the kind that made Maurice feel like he was in the presence of royalty. Pearl had been in Maurice's life for years, her calm demeanor and steady support anchoring him through life's storms. She was the kind of woman who would pack his lunch with little notes tucked inside, reminding him to drink water or telling him she believed in him. She felt safe, predictable, even. But maybe that was the problem. Then there was Sonia Uche. Sonia was fire wrapped in human skin. She walked into a room and demanded attention without saying a word. Where Pearl was calm waters, Sonia was a raging storm. Maurice met her at a party, one of those impulsive nights where you swear you'll leave early but end up dancing till morning. She wasn't the kind of woman you brought home to meet your mother, not right away, at least. But there was something magnetic about her that Maurice couldn't resist. She made him feel alive in ways he hadn't in years. Now Maurice was stuck, torn between two extremes. On one hand, Pearl represented everything he thought he needed: stability, kindness, and a sense of home. On the other hand, Sonia offered excitement, passion, and a spark he hadn't felt in a long time. The two women couldn't have been more different, yet Maurice found himself drawn to both like a moth to two separate flames. Pearl wasn't oblivious to what was happening. She noticed the late-night texts Maurice tried to hide and the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes when he told her he was busy. But Pearl wasn't the kind to jump to conclusions. She trusted Maurice, or, at least, she wanted to. Still, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that there was someone else. And the thought of losing him terrified her. Sonia, on the other hand, wasn't the type to share. She knew about Pearl, of course. She wasn't proud of being the other woman, but in her eyes, Maurice belonged with her. She didn't see Pearl as competition, she saw her as an obstacle. Sonia didn't play by the rules, and she wasn't above stirring the pot to get what she wanted. Things came to a head one evening when Maurice, in a moment of complete idiocy, or bravery, depending on how you looked at it, invited both women to the same dinner. His plan was to clear the air, though even he wasn't sure what that meant. He told himself it was time to make a decision, but deep down, he just wanted the weight of the secrecy to lift. Pearl arrived first, her calm presence filling the room. She had a bottle of wine in hand and a warm smile that made Maurice's stomach churn with guilt. Sonia walked in 15 minutes later, fashionably late and unapologetically stunning. Her entrance was like a lightning bolt striking the room, and Maurice knew immediately he'd made a mistake. The dinner was tense, to say the least. Pearl tried to remain polite, but her sharp glances towards Sonia said otherwise. Sonia, meanwhile, made no effort to hide her disdain. She leaned into Maurice a little too closely, laughed a little too loudly at his jockeys, and shot daggers at Pearl with her eyes. Maurice sat in the middle, sweating and wishing the ground would swallow him whole. At one point, Pearl finally spoke up. "Maurice," she said, her voice steady but tinged with hurt, What exactly is going on here? Maurice opened his mouth to respond, but Sonia cut him off. I'll tell you what's going on, she said, leaning forward. Maurice is trying to have his cake and eat it too. The argument that followed was nothing short of explosive. Pearl accused Maurice of betrayal, Sonia accused Pearl of being boring, and Maurice just sat there, staring at his plate, wishing he could disappear. By the time the dinner ended, it was clear that no one was walking away unscathed. In the days that followed, Maurice found himself alone. Pearl refused to answer his calls, and Sonia made it clear she wasn't interested in being his second choice. For the first time in a long time, Maurice had to sit with himself and figure out what he truly wanted. It wasn't easy, it wasn't pretty, but maybe, just maybe, it was necessary. Weeks later, Maurice found himself standing outside Pearl's door, flowers in hand and an apology on his lips. He didn't know if she would forgive him, but he knew he had to try. Sonia, meanwhile, was a lesson he would never forget, a reminder that passion without purpose could burn you alive. The love triangle was over, but the scars it left behind would take time to heal. Maurice learned the hard way that love isn't a game, and people's hearts aren't trophies to be won. Whether Pearl took him back or not, one thing was certain: Maurice would never make the same mistake again. At least, he hoped he wouldn't.